a very welcome 3 points for Newcastle United. That's the first thing I would say. You know, there was a lot of pressure going into the game. I think if we'd have lost that game, then you know, the pressure would have been really cranked up, and there's no escaping that. But to get that win just relieves all the pressure. You know, yes, there are still problems. There are still a left back needs to come in and a striker. So we all appreciate that has to be sorted out in the next 9 or 10 days or however long's left. But to get 3 points against Sunderland, no better feeling.
How important are we talking? Could it be kind of season changing after all the problems that they've had, that it'll, as you say, lift a lot of the pressure for them? Could it change the course of their entire season?
I think it's always important how you start the season, obviously, but it was just exactly what Newcastle needed at this moment in time. I mean, you know, let's not forget the season we got relegated 2 years ago. We started with 4 points from 6, so you know it doesn't guarantee that you're gonna stay up and survive, which is the important thing to sort of underline at the moment. But you know, as far as doom and gloom's concerned, I think a lot of the certain gloom was blown away on Saturday, and you've seen that by the celebrations in the city.
How do they do it? Because every time you think that Newcastle have sold all their goal scorers, there's always somebody else to pop up with one just when they really need it.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible, really. I mean, when we sold Carroll, we wondered where the goals were going to come from, but we still continue to score them. But I think you can't escape it. Newcastle United need a striker desperately at the moment. Someone to wear the number 9 shirt is very special to fans, and they've got to come out and produce that person, you know. And unfortunately, that person's probably going to cost a few quid, and it's up to the powers that be to bring those players in at the moment.
Do you think they're missing out on people just because they don't want to pay the inflated prices, which they inevitably would have to?
I think it's across the board that the transfer fees and wages, agents' fees as well. You know, I heard one agent at another club for another player actually demanded £3 million on completion of one deal, and I think that's just absolutely just ridiculous, basically. So that is a big problem for all clubs at the moment, and I think Newcastle don't want the wool sort of pulled over their eyes, and they don't want to be ripped off and all that. But you need a striker pretty quickly, I think, and that might cost a few quid.
As they say, you know, like with Man United, they might have paid over the odds a bit for buying people early, but that has probably helped them in pre-season. And you can look at what's happened with Newcastle. Really, they didn't do that.
I think the earlier the better in terms of getting players in, especially the summer window. It's really important to get them in pretty quickly, because the quicker you get them in, the less likely you are to be paying inflated odds, which is what happens normally at the end of a window. Newcastle's situation is quite strange, because they've known since January that Andy Carroll was gone. They've had all that time to sort of prepare. Yes, they brought in Demba Ba, who we're yet to sort of see the best of. He hasn't had much of an opportunity to show it, but I still think a regular, proven, tried and tested goal scorer is needed. But the problem is they don't grow on trees, and you will end up having to pay the money for them.
And just a word for Sunderland as well. I mean, they brought in so many players. Do you think they're expecting to do so much better? It must have been a very big disappointment for them.
I think they probably put themselves under a lot of pressure to win that game and you know, get one over Newcastle kind of thing. You know, Newcastle go there, they're under their own sort of pressure whenever you go to the Stadium of Light, but I always think that it's a bit greater because the Sunderland fans put so much pressure on their team to actually beat Newcastle and get the bragging rights. I mean, it's only happened once in the last 31 years on wear-tyne, which is the fact that Sunderland fans have to live with. Unfortunately, it's harsh for them, but
especially this season as well, presumably because of all the new faces.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at Sunderland and I actually, you know, the first half an hour they didn't look that bad in terms of the way they were going forward, and they did create some chances. Tim Krul had a couple of saves to make, so you know, they're not too far away, but it's whether Steve Bruce now is under so much pressure to get things right. it's going to be down to the fans how much pressure they put on them. But I think if you ask Newcastle fans, they'll probably tell you Steve Bruce is doing a good job.